And of course, on Saturday, it all came to fruition. The Shohei Ohtani contract, the terms, the team, the whole shebang. The team wasn't really that surprising, although after Friday's shenanigans, it might have been a little surprising. That was the Dodgers. The terms, though, oh, they were surprising. 10 years, $700 million. That's $70 million per season if you're keeping score. And the reason the term was surprising is because we had all thought when he underwent that second elbow surgery in 5 years that it would diminish his value somewhat. Now, I wrote at the time, he's still going to get $500 million. A bunch of readers told me I was full of it. They were right. I missed by $200 million. But in reality, this deal is not $700 million, at least in present day value, and at least more importantly, when it comes to luxury tax calculations. The deal includes deferrals, massive deferrals. I want to show you what I tweeted on Saturday and a number of others picked up on as well. We were told this by a source. Ohtani's deal with the Dodgers includes unprecedented deferrals, the majority of his salary. The deferrals were Ohtani's idea to ease the Dodgers' luxury tax and cash flow burdens to give the team flexibility to be as competitive as possible, according to the source. Now, maybe the deferrals were Ohtani's idea, but let me tell you something. Andrew Friedman, president of baseball operations for the Los Angeles Dodgers, loves nothing better than deferrals. Go look at the Mookie Betts contract to see what I'm talking about. So, present day value, we're expecting that the deal will be between $40 and $50 million a year, again, in present day numbers, and that's the number that you will see for the luxury tax calculation as well. Of course, it's a big number, and I expect his salaries over the initial years of the deal to be rather low, and I expect a massive signing bonus, and then, of course, a ton of money coming to him later. That is what he is talking about there, or the source is talking about, in terms of the cash flow. It will give the Dodgers the ability to do more things than they would have if they were simply paying Ohtani $70 million a year. So for the Dodgers, obviously, this is a huge move. For 2024, well, it is an offensive move, a move to help their run production, which didn't really need more help, considering that last year, the Dodgers scored 906 runs, the most by any team in Los Angeles Dodgers history. Brooklyn Dodgers had a few years in which they scored more, but for the Los Angeles Dodgers, this was the record, and now they get even better. Ohtani replaces JD Martinez, and obviously Ohtani is one of the top offensive players in the game. From a pitching standpoint, well, the Dodgers are going to have to wait. Ohtani will not be ready to pitch again until 2025, coming off that surgery that cannot be named, and even then, we don't know how many innings he'll be able to provide. And from that perspective and that point on, how long he'll be able to pitch and pitch effectively. So the Dodgers now are in quite an interesting position. Let's take a look at their rotation, the state of their rotation as we sit here on Sunday night. With the Ohtani deal still not official, but we're sitting here looking at this group. Walker Buehler, Bobby Miller, Ryan Pepiot, Ryan Yarbrough, and some combination of Emmett Sheehan and Gavin Stone. Of course, that's subject to change based on spring training performance, health, and most importantly, who the Dodgers get next. They've been in talks for Tyler Glasnow. I can see them pivoting to perhaps Dylan Cease if that comes available to them. Corbin Burns might also be available, but Glasnow seems to be the one that they've been focused on of late. Trade talks are fluid. They can shift at any point. But I would expect that they're going to make a trade for one and then at least go to get some free agent. Now, you've heard them linked to Yamamoto even after the Ohtani news was announced. I can see that, but man, the Dodgers don't often play at the top of the market. And this time they're doing it once at least with Ohtani. Are they going to do it twice with Yamamoto when you've got the Mets, the Yankees, the Giants, and all these other teams involved? I'd be surprised. But you still have Blake Snell out there. You still have Jordan Montgomery out there, Lucas Giolito, any number of others. They're going to figure it out. They're going to be fine. Now, to close out this segment, I want to talk about what I wrote after the terms were announced, after the choice of team was announced as well. And essentially, I wrote a column saying that this was good for the game, that baseball will benefit from this, that overall, this is a positive. Fans did not react well to that, or at least the ones who responded in the reader comments. I'm accustomed to that. That's fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. But I want to take you through exactly what I was thinking. And I wrote that column knowing that fans of certain teams, small market teams in particular, would hate what I was saying. Payroll disparity in this sport is a historic problem. It has not ever been solved and probably never will be solved. It wouldn't even be solved necessarily by a salary cap, and we'll go into that in a second. The game's economics are based on locally generated revenue, not national television revenue like the NFL. It's a different kind of animal. And for the better part of a half century now, since the creation of free agency, fans have screamed for a salary cap. Now, it's not going to happen. The baseball union has held strong on this. They are never going to allow it. For them, it is the absolute line that cannot be crossed. But for all the complaints about the disparity in payrolls, we don't necessarily see disparity in competition the way some fans might think. Now, if you're sitting there in Pittsburgh or some other cities, Oakland would be obviously one now, you're saying to me, whoa, Ken, what are you talking about? But let me show you something right here. Let's go to what we've seen in Major League Baseball since the year 2000. No repeat champions. Only the Red Sox, Giants, and Cardinals have won multiple titles. And we've seen 16 different World Series champions. 16. Now let's look at the other sports, the salary cap sports that fans seem to long for in this sport. Franchises with titles since 2000. Major League Baseball 16, the NFL 13, the NHL 13, the NBA 11. So if you're telling me that there's great competitive balance in these leagues, no, it's simply not happening. And frankly, in our sport, in baseball, we have seen low revenue teams succeed and succeed over multiple years. Now, it's difficult to sustain. There's no question about it. And that's really where you see the difference. The Dodgers can sustain it. To some extent, other teams can sustain it too. But Oakland and Tampa Bay and Milwaukee, the teams that were successful for a period of time, Tampa Bay and Milwaukee still fit in this category. It's harder for them. Kansas City was successful for a time. Cleveland. And now Baltimore is coming on, as well as Arizona. The Orioles last year won the AL East with the second lowest payroll in the major leagues. The Diamondbacks, with the 10th lowest payroll, made it to the World Series. Meanwhile, the Mets, Yankees, and Padres all underachieved dramatically. So, obviously, yes, there are differences in the way teams go about it because of the money that they generate, because of their locally based revenue. But the sport, the attendance last year, for all the people who tell me the sport is broken, was up. The new rules are having a positive effect. People are enjoying the game again. And the expanded playoffs that I'm not necessarily in love with, but the expanded playoffs have actually worked to enhance competitive balance to a degree. Not necessarily, of course, in the teams that get in, but once the teams get in, it's more random. And we saw that last year. The Diamondbacks knocked off the Phillies, they knocked off the Dodgers, and for that reason, those teams that get in, the low revenue teams that can figure it out, they've got maybe a better chance than they did under the old system. Is this perfect? It's not even close to perfect. I'm not going to pretend it's perfect. It would be foolish to say anything like that. But don't tell me the sport is broken. I can see why in certain cities people feel that way. But overall, from the global perspective of this, the game is in a good place, and the game is in a good place with Shohei Ohtani in Los Angeles for the reasons I wrote.